justice for Safa. India avenges Safa's father's death. Terrorists who killed Jammu and Kashmir cop gunned down. LeT terrorist Adil has now been killed in an encounter. Jammu and Kashmir cop's death avenged. Finally, 9-year-old Safa gets justice. Here's the big news that we're currently tracking. 9-year-old Safa gets justice as LeT terrorist Adil Pare of Ganderbal, who was involved in the killing of 2 JKP personnel. Jammu and Kashmir Police, in fact, the death of Safa and her father has finally been avenged. This is the big news that we're currently tracking. Justice for Safa as India avenges Safa's father's death. Terrorist who killed Jammu and Kashmir cop has now been gunned down. The LeT terrorist Adil was killed in an encounter. Jammu and Kashmir cop's death has now been avenged. Finally, 9-year-old Safa gets justice. LeT terrorist Adil Pare of Ganderbal, who was involved in the killing of 2 Jammu and Kashmir police personnel, Hassan Dar in Sangam and Saifullah Qadri in Anchar Soura, injuring a 9-year-old girl, killed in a chance encounter with a small team of police. Let me quickly cut across to Ashraf Wani joining us live for more on that. Ashraf, huge outrage that we saw over Safa's father, who was a police in Jammu and Kashmir, who was gunned down by terrorists. In fact, Safa was also shot in the arm at that point during that terror strike. Now we hear the LeT terrorist has been killed by the police there in an encounter. Give us some details on this.
Absolutely, Nabila. Basically, this cycle of the targeted killings started from the killing of this Jammu and Kashmir police constable, Mr. Qadri, and his daughter was also, Safa was injured in that attack. And on that day, the Jammu and Kashmir police clearly and categorically said that Adil Pare, Lashkar-e-Taiba militant from Ganderbal, is responsible for the killing and we are tracking him. Today, the police said that in a chance encounter, Adil Pare was gunned down in a brief shootout in Sangam area of the outskirts of Srinagar, and in fact he has been now identified. The weapon has been recovered from him, what police says, and big success for the security forces, particularly for the Jammu and Kashmir police, because from day one they were after the Adil Pare, who was being said as a main conspirator and killer of the Jammu and Kashmir police constable in the Soura area of Srinagar, not far from the encounter site. So since then the Jammu and Kashmir police was tracking his movements, and today in an incidental encounter where a small party of Jammu and Kashmir police was heading for a raid in the Sangam locality of the Srinagar, and where he was killed in the encounter. Nabila.
All right, give us the kind of ordeal the family has gone through, Ashraf. At this point, Safa and her father particularly was gunned down by terrorists. Was this a case of targeted killing? What was the mistake of Safa's father that he was killed?
Absolutely, Nabila. Basically, Saifullah Qadri, who was one of the known Jammu and Kashmir police personnel in the Jammu and Kashmir police ranks, worked for so many anti-terror operations across the Jammu and Kashmir. He was specifically targeted when he was inside home. In fact, he was heading to put her daughter Safa to a tuition center in nearby. Then what the police said, the Adil Pare with one of his associates came to the locality. They indiscriminately fired on the father and his daughter. The father got killed in that terror attack and his daughter was injured. She was for many days hospitalized in the Srinagar Medical Institute. Then finally she recovered from that injury, but there was a big pain for the lifelong for her. Her father was killed in that attack, which she could not easily forget. But the police on that day said that they are tracking this. They have identified the killer. Adil Pare is responsible, who is a Lashkar operative from the Ganderbal area. He came for this terror attack to the Soura area, the residence of the Saifullah Qadri's home. And from that day, the special police team was established to track the movements of this particular Lashkar operative. And finally, today he was killed in outskirts of Srinagar. And as I said, the cycle of the targeted killing started from the killing of Saifullah Qadri in the outskirts of Srinagar. Then we have seen the minority community teacher was targeted in Kulgam. Another police constable was killed in the Pulwama. Then it started and continued for many targeted killings last month, in the month of May. But somehow end has been brought to that cycle of
Right.
targeted. And in fact, two of those militants responsible for these killings have been neutralized by the
Right.
Jammu and Kashmir Police during last 3 days.